Welcome to the Elevated Trader Podcast. I am Dr. Kristin Kidgel.
And I am Tracy Ball. Join us every week as we journey into becoming better traders.
We believe becoming better traders involves elevating our skill, mindset, and our health. In each episode, we will discuss the current book we are exploring, and we invite you to join us on this journey.
Are you ready to elevate your trading, mindset, and health to the next level? Let's do this. And welcome back, everyone, to the Elevated Trader Podcast. We are here with part 4 of our most recent book, The Emigrant Edge by Brian Buffini. Kristin, how's it going? We're into part 4. Excited? Glad you're here? All that stuff?
I'm excited. I'm glad I'm here. Stop moving, Kristin.
I'm glad you're here.
Screwed up your camera.
All right, so we are into part 4. This is the last part, so we're going to be finishing up this book. What's part 4 about?
It's about putting everything basically into action. It's 21 challenges, how to get the edge, instead of all the different parts that he explained in the beginning of the book.
All right, so let's dive into the first challenge. What's the first challenge?
So I'm going to go off my notes.
Okay.
I'm going to go off my notes, which are not exactly the way it's written. It was written from my brain. I just kind of used his words and then made it and wrote it down.
Gotcha.
I wrote number 1, upgrade your input. This
is my favorite one. I actually really like this because I think this is important. What does it mean to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting because this is type of information that I review with people often around the respects and aspect of like, who do you surround yourself with, but also like, what are you listening to and what are you watching?
Exactly.
And so that's what I get out of it. It's like, what are you exposing your brain to day in and day out? Not just like other humans, but to your social media feeds or things like that. So
yeah, it's just well, it's exactly the same thing. You've heard that saying, right, where people say you are what you eat. Well, yeah. It's no different than what you read, what you consume on television, anything that you put into your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose, whatever you see, smell, taste, hear, expose yourself to. That is what is defining and forming and molding you into the person that you're becoming. So, let's challenge each other. And, we challenge our listeners to up your game, clean it up, clean your feet up. I did it with my daughter. I'm like, this is junk. This is garbage. Change it. Yeah. Yeah. Now there's one quote in here that I thought was really, I wanted to touch on that. And it said, most people want to change their circumstances, but they don't want to change themselves. And I see that so often with people. You'll hear the complaints, you'll hear and you know what? I've been guilty of it at times. There's times where it's just, I want to be out of this certain circumstance. I want things to change, but I really don't want to put the effort in to do it. So it's like, really, do I really want that change? Or am I being a victim at the moment, wanting somebody else to kind of rescue me and do it for me? And
the victim word.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things that you have to catch yourself with, and you just have to take accountability and step out of it. So, but anyway, I want to touch on that. So
I imagine most of our readers probably aren't, if they're listening to us and listening to this podcast,
they're actionable.
They're working on themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So what's number 2?
Increase performance with training and accountability. I really appreciate this one too. He talks about having training accountability partner, making sure you have a mentor. We talked about that previous podcast, specifically around this book. We talked about coaching. He talks about that too. So I agree heavily with all of those. And you know what's really interesting? When I went to this, I was like, an accountability partner. It's as if you can get an accountability partner for all different parts of your life, like your spiritual part, your health part, your not just what you're eating, but like physically what you're doing. So you could also get mentors for all those different respects, right? You can have a business coach, but then you can have a personal trainer, who's coaching you with your, weightlifting or whatever. So think outside the box is what I'm trying to get across to everybody.
Yeah. And if you want success though, because here's my thing with accountability partners. accountability partners are only as good as you are accountable to yourself. And so unless you're in jail or you're forced to be monitored, watched, and doing the things that are being told of you to do, you're under the thumb of somebody. An accountability partner can only help you if you're willing to help yourself, which means that you have to be able to, first of all, be honest with your accountability partner. You have to be able to bring forth whatever issues you're having. It has to start with you. So the most important accountability partner is yourself. Has to start there. And I just wanted to kind of touch on that because I've heard this before, and it's all fine and dandy, but if you're not able to do it yourself, if you don't want to do it yourself, it doesn't matter how much money you pay a coach, doesn't matter how much money you pay a mentor, it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make an ounce of difference because no one's going to do it for you. No one can do it for you.
That's true.
Right? So the only person that can help you is you. So
there is something to be said, though, that when you drop some serious change, as in coinage, as in dollar bills, the more you spend, the more you're accountable, the more people show up. I've seen it in all different things.
Yeah, another story, sideline. I remember a time when I actually canceled my cable. And it was a very eye-opening experience for that exact reason, because my cable bill was about, I don't know, $100 a month. I think that's what it was. And I felt, once I canceled it, free to go and do whatever I wanted to do. Before I canceled it, I felt like, well, I'm paying for cable. I've got to watch this show, this show, this show, this show, this show. It's a negative accountability is what it is. I mean, it's accountability, but it's not working for me. It's working against me. And I recognized the power of getting rid of that so that I could be doing some of those other things and not feel that pull to do something that I shouldn't do. So I totally agree with you that the more you spend, or sometimes you drop that coin, and that's why it's important to also pay for it, because you do have skin in the game that could hold you a little bit more accountable. Game. Depends on how you are. But yeah, that's a great point that you're bringing up. So yeah, for sure. What's the next challenge?
Apply what you learn.
Action, action, action.
Action, take action, step in the direction. One of the things I've shared with you is one of the prompts in my morning gratitude journaling. And it's not just gratitude, right? It starts there, but it does end up with like, well, what are you doing today that's to move you towards your future dreams and goals? And I don't think I even got the exact line right. But again, you do have to make a step forward in yeah, even if it's just reading a book, like this book's going to help me with that. Or yeah, this getting up and setting the alarm 15, 20 minutes earlier is going to help me with that. And I agree. I think you and I are both like, action is not an issue for us.
No, but it is for others. And I'll share another story. Story time.
It's story time with Tracy.
Story time with Tracy. So, we've started our son on this challenge where I've given him a list of books, and these are books that are kind of the books that we're reading, but they're more geared that I think they'll be better for him, but they're personal development books, and he has to read one, and he gets rewarded for every book that he reads. But it's not just about reading. He has to provide us with 3 takeaways from the book. So that way I know whether or not he's actually read it. But the next step from that is I then prompt him and ask him and get him thinking about, okay, so those are your 3 takeaways. How does that apply to your own life? What can you do, or how do you see that working in your own life? And he gets thinking about it and talking about it, and it gets that fluid going so that he can start to use what he's actually reading, because it's not just about the reading. He's reading all these books, but I want him to start putting some of that into action, the stuff that really makes sense to him, that hits home, that he's grasping, that he's understanding, that he thinks is going to be life-changing, and teach him how to take that to the next level, which is action. put it into action. So I encourage all of our listeners to do something similar to that. When you read a book, grab the highlights, grab the things that really stand out to you that made the most impact, write them down, and then take it a next step further and try to see how you can apply whatever concept, theory, idea, thought, whatever it might be, apply that to your own life. Is it currently working in your life right now? Great. How? How is it working in your life? What is it doing? What does it look like? How can it be applied into other areas of your life? And then start implementing. What's your tip?
I have been reading books with you for almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. We're getting ready to celebrate a year here.
Yep.
And what I have done, which I will probably do forever now, is I have note cards. So just like the typical index card.
Yep.
And I keep a couple in the book, and those are my bookmarks. And I have pens and pencils and stuff all over the house. So wherever I'm reading, I can reach and grab a pen. But I always make sure to put it back. That's an issue when you wander out and you go. Okay, anyways, I digress. But what I do is I write. So I used to just mark the book, and I'll be like, I'll get back to that. And I would mark a couple, and I would go think, oh, I'll go back to that. Well, I wasn't going back to it. So my recommendation is to get a bookmark, but use it as an index card. And every time you have that aha moment, you can still mark the book. Sometimes I corner the corner, like I've done today, because something I want to touch on. But like write it down in your own words. But then what's really cool is putting this up somewhere or coming back to it or carrying it around. I'm really good at like sticking stuff up on places and things like that. So, but it catches your eye. Like if for example, I didn't realize why I did this in college, but I would use like lipstick or something, and I would put something across the mirror. So subliminally, I'm looking at that all the time. And I think that's great, right? So maybe you could also at the end of the book or during it, you could put it one on a sticky note. You could put it in your bathroom, or you can put it in your car, or you can put it at the office, or you can put it on your monitor. So your eyes are catching these and they are sinking in.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I had a professor back in psychology in universities many, many, many years ago, but he used to carry around those little tiny flip note books. Mm-hmm. He'd keep it in his pocket, and he used it just for vocabulary words. So every time he came across a word that he didn't know, he would write it down and then write what it meant in there. And he would go through that regularly so that he could build his vocabulary.
That's smart.
Isn't that brilliant? So
that is brilliant.
Exactly what you're talking about, but it's like I said, it's just putting those points down and then having something that you can reference back. So great tips. Love it. Let's move on to the next challenge.
Number 4.
Yes.
Be a goal getter instead of a go-getter or a goal whatever, a goal getter.
Instead of a goal setter.
Pretty much, yeah. He does talk about, write down your short, which is, maybe for the week, and then your mid, and then like long-term goals. So he does definitely discuss that, which, you kind of have to write them down. And I feel almost like, when was the last time I looked at mine or wrote mine? I feel like I'm doing it all the time, because every time we read a book, I feel like I'm doing it again. But it is also in my journaling.
Right. Yeah, because you do that every day. And I like that.
Pretty much. And I miss it when I miss it.
and there's a power. I don't know if everybody is like this, but I'm very, very goal oriented. I feel so accomplished when I achieve goals. So creating as many small goals gives me momentum to just plow through some of the bigger ones. And it gives you that benchmark. So like I said, I don't know if everyone's like that, but I learned that about me when I used to play video games, because when they brought out like the Xbox and I started playing the Xbox, and you'd get these little rewards popping up for certain achievements that you get through the game, it keeps you hooked because you want to keep playing that game, because I want to get that next achievement. And I became an achievement hound where I would just be trying desperately to get all those achievements in the games. Thankfully, I don't waste my time doing that anymore. But the point is that I recognize that goals have a very powerful grip on our society. So Use it to your advantage. Yeah.
For sure. He goes, number one, have clear goals. Number two, use good time management by using priorities. So prioritizing when you look at, the things you need to do, like, okay, where's that going to go in my day? Where's that going to go in my week? And then a series of quick wins. He does make that very important, not just recognizing it and setting it up for yourself, but later on he talks about recognizing it in others.
Yeah.
And letting them know that you recognize that. And then he says that just basically creates momentum.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Yeah. Also, you talk about how you create a goal. It needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. And then those are two things that a lot of people don't consider when they're saying that, like for instance, I want to lose weight. Well, that's a goal. Great. But how do you measure it? How do you measure the success that whether you're on target, whether you're on track for reaching that goal or not? So, be more specific, say, I want to lose 4 pounds by the end of next week, or I want to lose 4 pounds by this specific date, or whatever the goal might be, but that's measurable. You have a specific end time for the goal. You have a specific target, and both of those are measurable. So by the time that date gets there, you know whether you've achieved the goal. Check. So make sure that it's specific, because otherwise it's too easy for us to fudge the lines, move it around, and keep pushing the goal line a little bit further away from us.
Well, it's also just a dream if you don't have any of those details.
Exactly. There you go. You got it. All right. What's the next one?
Oh, just to be a dreamer every day. Number 5, be relentless.
Be relentless.
I think I needed that one, the most out of these 21s right now. It's like, because sometimes I just get tired.
So what exactly does be relentless mean to you?
Every day you're like focused on your goal. You are relentless. Like there's no way you're not going to reach that goal. And then you get, I think if you could stay in the be relentless mindset, then that removes the doubt mindsets. That's the words and the thoughts, the little voice inside your head that sneaks in and tries to tell you, you're not smart enough, you're not old enough, you're not this, you're not that, and then you're just like, yeah, but I'm relentless, and relentless people like reach their goals.
Yeah, for sure. There's also a quote during this section that I really liked. It was, compete with yourself first before you're tempted to compare yourself to others or to anyone else. That's another one, right? In order to be relentless, you need to always be pushing the limits of yourself. You always need to be pushing yourself forward. And that's what's going to get you towards the goals that you're wanting to go to. If you are comparing yourself to others, that is so hard to stay relentless. It's so much easier to give up because you just feel defeated and beat up all the time. So stay focused. I think that's the key. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I notice it in my social media feed. And when I noticed recently that I'm noticing it often with one particular person that was popping up in my feed, I was like, it was irking me about myself, honestly. And then I actually unfollowed this particular person.
I was wondering why you unfollowed me.
Oh, stop. It wasn't you.
Just kidding.
If I could just get you onto social media more. We won't go there.
No. And I'm just kidding. She didn't unfollow me.
He quotes Will Smith in here. I like this quote too. It says, talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. So, yeah, I mean, that's like trading hours and hours of screen time and actually pulling the trigger with real money. How do you get better with that?
Yeah. Effort, right? I mean, if you don't put the effort in, you don't put the time in, I don't care how talented somebody is, they'll never succeed versus somebody that has way more effort. You need the talent with effort, or effort, period, and no talent.
Yeah.
Will beat talent with no effort. That's what I'm trying to say, right? I think people have heard that saying before. All right. So the next one is be all in on your goals. That is kind of being the same thing as being relentless, wouldn't you say?
Pretty much. Yeah. He put goal getter, and then he had be relentless, and then be all in. So basically it's just going back to that episode, we talked about not having a plan B.
Yeah.
There's only plan A.
Exactly. All right. And the next one, we've talked about this many times, is be consistent. And being consistent really comes down to discipline. And, you know, I think we're all consistent all the time. Just not necessarily in the things we should be consistent in. So, and the same with discipline. We're always disciplined. I'm saying that right now because a lot of people put in their head, I'm not disciplined. Or they put in their head, I struggle with discipline. And that sets them up mentally for failure, first of all. It makes it really difficult to head towards the direction that you want. It makes it hard for you to go in the direction that you want. But if you actually change your thought patterns, change your thinking, and recognize, no, I am disciplined, that gets that out of the way. I just need to change my focus so that my discipline is in the area that best suits my life. That's the difference. And consistency is the same thing. You're either consistently heading in the direction of your goals, or you're consistently not heading in the directions of your goals.
Yep.
So
one or the other.
One or the other. Pick your choice, right? So
yep.
Do you have anything to add about?
I agree. Yeah, I do, because I one of the things I would say is, like, if you're constantly saying I'm not disciplined, or I'm not this, or I'm not that, which I hear a lot in my office and from people when we're, kind of mentoring and coaching them along here. I'm like, do you hear what you're saying? Like, we got to change that. And so the thought would be, okay, well, I'm going to write it down. I am consistent. And so that's black and white. Where's the gray? And so sometimes it's hard for someone to write, I am consistent, and stick it up and read that every day. I would recommend, I am becoming more consistent every day. I am becoming more disciplined every day. That right there is more believable. And then, you know what I mean? It's
great point.
Actionable. So
great point.
Just a thought as you want to make a change and start catching yourself.
Yeah. Great point. It all starts with your thinking, though, right? So catch those thoughts, recognize what you're thinking right now, and then start making those little subtle changes so that you can head in the right direction. This is the roadmap, right? This is what he's given us.
This is good. I like this. Yeah. I'm happy the way this book ended. I like this.
Yeah, for sure. So what's the next one?
Become exceptional.
Yeah, become exceptional. Now, I do have a quick note here. It's about, how they talk about, well, first of all, everyone can be exceptional. Remember when he said that in the book, that everyone can be exceptional? And just a side note, and I don't want to say that that's not true. It's just a thought, and I'm probably going to get some backlash on this, whatever, but I'm just curious, is that really true? Because if everyone becomes exceptional, how do you measure exception? Like, what exactly does that mean if you're exceptional? I think that it needs to be defined a little bit better. That's kind of where my thinking was, is like, what exactly is exceptional? Is it the best that you can be? Is that what exceptional means?
That's a good question. I think everybody has a gift and everybody has a value. And whether they are expressing those gifts to those around them, or expressing what value they bring to, their surroundings or the planet, or whatever you want to look at. But to become means you are a work in progress. So if you are working towards being exceptional with how you love someone, or how you cook big cookies, or how you are a chiropractor, or how you are a trader, how you teach others, it just, to me, I think it can be pieced down tiny instead of looked at huge.
Right.
And I think that would make a better world if we just, if we look at it in a smaller scale and closer to home.
And I think that it needs to be individually. I don't think that, because to me, to be exceptional, becoming exceptional, to become exceptional, for me, that speaks. And it took me a while to get here, because before I used to think that meant I had to be better than everybody. I had to be the best. I was measuring my success and my progress against everybody else. And that did not lead me down a trail that was good. It led me down into a trail of a lot of disappointment, a lot of competition, a lot of egoism, a lot of bad behavior. Right. And flip that script, and it's I need to be the best version of me. I need to live my best life. I need be the best that I can be. And it's an individual game, right? Not a compared game. So cool. I just wanted to cover that because that, like I said, that was a struggle that I've had in my life, and questioning and comparing and judging, basically.
Yeah. I think he really falls into like, bring value to the table wherever you are.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation is, whether it's work, whether it's career, career work, whether it's family, or, I think that's what I'm hoping he's trying to point out. Anyways,
100%.
Do your best.
All right. So the next one is leverage the run rest cycle. Yes. What does that mean to you?
That means go hard, do your best, go all in, but you have to remember to take a break. I remember listening to somebody on social media. He's like, weekends make weak people. And I was like, dang, dude, I don't know about that. I won't even drop names, but he probably says it often enough that some of you have already heard it. I push really hard, and when I need to push even more, I'll use my weekends. But I gotta tell you, I don't think anybody can keep up the pace and stay healthy, mentally and physically, without taking a break and enjoying themselves. But you have to not just sit there and eat bonbons all the time, right? Like, if I'm taking a break, it's usually somewhat still active.
Right.
I can't sit still. It's just my personality, but really important.
Yeah, it's that whole in a plane, put your oxygen on before you can put anybody else's oxygen on, right? And no, I agree with you 100%. I think that that's a really key point. And this entire podcast, that's the whole point that we do this podcast, is because we recognize the value of balance. It's not just one aspect. We're not sitting here to become elevated traders by just back trading. That's
my other podcast.
Yeah, there you go. No,
just kidding.
We're looking to better every level, to level up every aspect of our life so that the whole thing comes together. And that's because we, Kristin and I, recognize the value of a balanced life. And that includes this very, very important point, which is, have a balance between your rest run cycle.
You know what? This just made me think I would like to put something on our website, which, by the way, is www.theelevatedtrader.com, right?
Yes.
Okay. I want to get over to you to have you uploaded onto our website. This you've actually seen it. I can make it into a weekly form, but I can also make it into a monthly form. And it's titled The Wheel of Life.
Yes.
And that wheel had all the spokes with all the pie shapes.
Yeah.
And each piece of the pie, the circle being the life, right? Each piece of the pie had a part of our life. And then each month we would fill it out, and you could see where you're out of balance, where your tire was going flat. So you could put some more focus in it. And then it had like 3 or 4 prompt questions on like what went really right last month and what do I need to work on this month and stuff like that. So let's get that up for our listeners to download and use. It's fascinating. Stick to it, use it, and you will it really elevated my game when I was told to do that by the way, a coach. So, and I've never gotten rid of it. And when I coach people, I have them fill it out. That's what we do first day.
Let's do that. So we'll put it up on the website. So you'll have to check out the website, look for it, and we'll go from there. That's perfect. Great idea.
Okay, cool.
All right, our next one. What is the next one?
Appreciate those closest.
Ooh, appreciate those closest to you. Yeah. What did that mean to you?
I think I do a pretty good job at this. To be honest
you do.
With you. Yeah, I try to. And I don't even it's not like I really try to do it. I think it just comes naturally, and it's probably a skill I picked up from my mother or whatever. But I've always wanted my staff to feel appreciated. I bought them lunch yesterday, like random surprise for them. And, at home, yeah, like, oh my God, you took the garbage out. Oh my God, you cooked dinner. Like when the teenager literally picks up the wet towel off the floor, I'm like, thank you. You're awesome. Which, by the way, she's at college now and she's a clean freak and she doesn't understand what happened just in that 4.5 hour drive. Okay.
Yeah. The training wheels are off. I think that that's really key. And we're actually going to come up into a section here that is one of my favorite parts, which is that whole keep it in order type of thing, right? Which is the success or survival success. What is it? I can't remember what it is. Survival success. I need to find the page.
Oh, I don't have them written out like you do.
Survival, stability, success, and significance. So when we get to that stage, we're going to talk about that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I've been in that stage of survival. I've been in that stage where you are just doing everything you possibly can to survive. Mm-hmm. And that is probably the most important time for you to really take heed to appreciate, the people that are closest to you, the things that are closest to you. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's so hard when you are in that state of survival to focus on anything but getting out of that, whatever condition that you're in. You're very focused. Your balance, work-life balance, your life balance is very tilted to one direction. And that's the time where some of these things are going to fall off and you're going to neglect a lot of them. And I'm here to say that when you get through that stage, which you will get through that stage of survival and you will step into this stage of stability at some point, especially if you follow some of the plan that's laid out here. But as you move from survival into stability, there needs to be something left of your life to actually create stability with and to enjoy. What good is becoming wealthy? What good is becoming successful? What good is reaching the high limits of your life and doing it completely and utterly alone because everybody has left you, because you've left it all, right? I mean, you've mentioned this before. I think you've mentioned it before, but some of the biggest regrets on deathbeds is I didn't spend enough time with the people that I loved. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I didn't do, and
yeah, something to think about.
So yeah, it's exactly something to think about. Right. So anyway, next one.
I agree. Catching people doing something right. Yeah, I like this one. And it flows right into the next one, which is writing notes, by the way, because you can either verbally, tell them, walk up to them and tell them, which is a little bit harder these days. A lot of people don't work together. They don't see each other. I don't know. I'm just thinking about that. But writing notes is something I used to do. And reading this book again is making me want to start doing it again. Matter of fact, I have an entire box of thank you cards, but they're really weird. They're bright yellow. They're really like stand out. Like if you get them in the mail, you're like, whoa, what is that? And it's just supposed to be like that. And that's what I purchased them for. So I will get back to doing that because of this book.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. The other thing that I got from the, catch people doing something right. Again, this is kind of twofold. I think that when you're doing that, first of all, people love to be appreciated. So you're building somebody else's life up. You're helping somebody else. But I think that it's also it's building a habit in you. Because not only will you be able to find and appreciate or catch people doing something right, it's going to make things easier for you to catch yourself doing something right. And that's something else that I think is really important, because you've done this a couple times to me in the last week where I have gotten down on myself and you have said, what would you say to me? Right? Mm-hmm. And that's the habit that I'm talking about. When you are used to pointing out what people are doing right and you're used to encouraging others, it becomes that much easier for you to start treating yourself with that kind of kindness. And graciousness and grace and all that stuff. So just something to keep in mind, that it's just habit, right? Being,
well, yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, we're really hard on ourselves as human beings anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Next one. Brush your teeth and write your notes, which you already mentioned. Okay.
Yep.
I wrote it a little different. Next one.
Well, that's the way he had it.
So the next one is sow the seeds of self-development. I like this one too. Sowing the seeds of self-development. So, you're yeah.
I find it interesting that he went back to that one, because he brings it up basically in number 2, which is increasing your performance with training and accountability. To me, that's kind of all in there together. Did you get something different out of it?
I did, because he brings in the whole point of self-awareness.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah, which is really important with
Yeah.
triggers, and what are you saying about yourself? What are you saying about others?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
can go very deep. Okay.
So practicing can take you so far, but if you don't know yourself well enough to even know what you need to do, it's you're kind of at a stalemate, right? You can only get so far. So you really have to start digging deep and understanding who you are, what you know about yourself, what's working, what isn't working, and really be self-aware of that. The other thing was he pointed out the roadblocks to self-development, which doesn't play into the second one. So the roadblocks of self-development is fear, lack of discipline and motivation, no support, and lack of self-awareness. So, get over those, and you'll be on your way for that one. All right.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Next one. Feed the golden goose.
What'd that mean? Protecting all the assets, right?
Yeah.
So this one I had to really read slowly, so I comprehended where he was going with it. And I can see people just skimming this and not really digesting the information on that particular part. What did you get out of it?
Well, I may be one of those ones that skimmed over it and didn't get anything. I didn't put any notes there, but no, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. I didn't write any notes, so there was nothing that really stood out in that section to me. But I understand the feed the golden goose. You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, right? We've heard that term before, and burning your bridges, burning yourself out, exhausting all of your resources, and not caring for the things that are really getting you to where you need to go is, that's an end. That's an end to whatever it is. It's going to be a short, quick, swift finish, instead of recognizing that there's a long game to be played here, not just an immediate get rich quick or get to this certain aspect. You have to be able to maintain it. It's like anyone can lose weight, right? You can fast for 30 days and boom, you're going to lose some weight. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. But is that long? Is that lasting? Is that feeding that golden goose by changing the habits and forming something that is going to be consistent over a long duration of time? Same with the markets. You can trade and get lucky. You can trade and hit it right and make it big. You can do stupid things. You can do things that are not recommended. You can over leverage yourself and just by chance happen to work out for the best. But is that really creating something that's good for the long term? No. Yeah, so that's kind of what I got out of the whole golden goose, right? Because that was the idea of the golden goose, was that the story where the golden goose wanted more. So he ended up cutting the goose open to get all the golden eggs. And it's like, well, now you just killed your goose. Like, what are you going to do now? Now you've got, you've just capped your potential. So totally get it. I understand it. That's all I got to say about that. You?
Next. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of, I don't know, I guess it just made sense, well, yeah, duh, yeah. I don't know. I guess I just struggled with the analogy, but in essence, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. Why would you, if if your son's like the most amazing field goal kicker, why would you make him kick a bazillion things so then his foot gets damaged and all that stuff? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I guess you can overdo something, I guess is the point, So it kind of almost comes back to balance.
Yep. You got to care. Yeah, you got to take care of it all, right? So.
Yep.
All right, next one. Learn to say no with a smile. Boy, I need to learn this one. This one is one of my challenges because I am not good at saying no.
Where did you get that? Because then I'm seeing something that's my notes say tend the tree.
Oh, I skipped over that one. I saw it too. I just skipped over it.
Because I really like this analogy. This was like the best analogy ever.
Yeah, we'll go back to it. I skipped over it accidentally. So
that's okay. Yes, that's okay.
Tend to the tree. That's the next one.
Okay. Well, the analogy he gives is the bamboo seed. And that it takes like 5 years for the bamboo shoot to come out of the ground. So basically the analogy is saying, which by the way, then it shoots up like over, I don't know,
90 feet.
Yeah, like something crazy. I think it depends on the bamboo.
Yeah,
but it takes a really long time, and that tending, not waiting, it's because we're quick fix society, right? So to be more patient in the outcome. You and I have to catch ourselves specifically on our dreams and goals that we want to make out of the things that we want to do with just our trading and then with the podcast and, all those things. And we're sowing the seed now.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy Limbaugh. We're sowing the seed now, and we're devoted to it, and we love it. So, nurturing and tending to the tree. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly. I think it goes very well with that golden goose and the whole, self-development. It all ties in. It's all related. So now, the one that I'm terrible at is the learn to say no.
You just said that about yourself. You need a sticky note.
I need a sticky note.
I am better every day. I am better
every day.
At saying no.
At saying no with a smile.
With a smile.
No.
With a smile. She's smiling at the camera, you guys. Okay, so she's becoming better every day. And literally, we just had this conversation this week about her not saying no to something.
Mm-hmm.
She did not want to say, she said yes to something she did not want to say yes to.
Exactly.
So there's that. Okay, well, moving on.
So before we move on, why is that important? Okay. Why is that important?
It sets boundaries for your happiness.
But why is that important?
I don't know. Because when it doesn't feel right, I don't know. I just don't agree with doing stuff that you're not comfortable with. I mean, if it's for your growth and you're being coached and mentored, but if you keep saying yes to everybody, that really ends up creating a problem. You have to have some places that you say no.
This area right here, learn to say no with a smile. Individuals that struggle saying no, like myself, we get overworked. We get resentful. We get angry. We get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's important. This all comes down to balance as well. And that's the biggest thing for me. So I cannot make everybody happy, nor should I try. That's something I do try, but I shouldn't try because it's impossible. That's an impossible feat. I am not going to please everybody. I've grown up being a people pleaser, which is why I have a hard time saying no. I'm working towards recognizing that it's not in everybody's best interest for me to do that anyway. So for one, other individuals need to hear no sometimes, and they need to work through whatever it is so that they can.
Right? They're always hearing yes.
Yes.
And you all of a sudden you say no. Woo!
Yeah. So I'm not doing them any favors by always saying yes. And I'm not doing myself any favors by always saying yes. So there needs to be a change in thought for me. And like I said, I'm working towards that I've gotten so much better at it. But like I said, those are the pitfalls. That's the downfall. So this is one of the things that's going to keep you from getting these 21-day goals, or not 21-day goals, but these 21 challenges working in your favor. Is this one right here is going to be a hold up for you, a lot of people. is not saying no, not setting those boundaries, not recognizing when it's important, when you need to focus on you versus other people.
This made me think of something that I think is worth saying. If you are a coach, if you teach people things, if people hire you for particular service or value, it's in some cases, I think there should be an application form and a consultation of some sort that makes it so you guys are a good fit.
Mm.
So the no is saving you both. Mm-hmm. Instead of, well, yeah, you're another client, or you're this or you're that, and you want me, but you're not a good fit for this program. I think it's really important to identify that in the beginning, so there isn't failure on both of y'all's parts. Because if it's not a good fit, well, you're trying to help someone that isn't capable of doing it, and they're upset because they've paid you to fulfill the need that they have, and it wasn't a good fit, so it just didn't work out. So something to think about.
You actually bring up a really good point, because that's the other issue with not saying no. Because through my experience anyway, not saying no creates this whipsaw effect in your life where you don't say no, you don't say no, you don't say no, you don't say no. The frustration level builds up, the imbalance builds up, the overwork builds up. And then all of a sudden you swing to the other side where you say no to everything. And it's because you've gone so far to one extreme that now as you get pulled back, you whipsaw to the other side, and all of a sudden you hate what you're doing. You don't want to do it anymore. You just keep saying no. And I saw that happening in my old construction business, where I wasn't discriminatory towards the clients that I would take, even though I should have said, you know what, I'm not going to work for you. I let price dictate whether or not we would work together or not. So I would set the price. If they accepted the price, then we would work together. But I needed to take it a step further, because there's certain clients that I did not want to be working with. And as that progressed, as I continued to say no to make everyone happy, I eventually hated doing it, because I was working with too many clients that I didn't like.
There you go.
Right. So that's a great point. I completely agree with you, and glad that you brought that up. All right. What's the next one?
Kind of came in my mind. Let's see. Where are we? Swim against the stream.
Ooh, go against the flow. Love it.
Yep.
That was pretty self-explanatory, hey?
Mm-hmm. Don't do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Another one I struggle with sometimes, particularly with my trading. It's hard. It's really hard to go against the flow. And what I mean by that is, we don't always see things the same way. You and I don't always see the same things the same way. And it's okay. I'm not complaining about that in any way, shape, or form. But what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to a divergence in our thought patterns, or a divergence in what we're thinking, and I'm going to use the markets, because the markets, like I said, there's multiple viewpoints in the markets, and either one of us could be right at any given time or not. And it's hard to go against the flow, what everybody else is seeing, what everybody else is saying.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that. It's a very challenging thing. Even if it works out in your favor, it's still a hard thing to do.
But it's getting easier every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're going to use the parts of this book. I want to drive you crazy.
It's all good. All right. So now the next one is stay in sequence. I really like this one. It talks about survival, stability, success, and significance. And this is something you cannot skip. You cannot go from survival to significance without reaching stability, without reaching success. So what they're saying really is, from a financial perspective, and you can use this in any aspect of your life, but there's a stage where you're in survival. So you're not making enough money. You're just trying to get by. You're going check to check to check kind of thing. And maybe you're in debt. You need to get all of that under control. You need to be
stability first.
Yeah, you need to be earning enough money. You need to make more money, cut your costs, start to balance things out. And then from there you can move into the stage of stability, where some of that stress is relieved now, because you've gotten yourself out of that survival mode. Now you can start to focus on actually moving forward. right? Because it's so much easier once you're out of the pit to start moving forward. It's difficult. So, and then from stability going to success. So only once you build a stable environment are you going to move into success. And then from success comes significance, where you can actually start to make a difference. And that's what I really liked. It was a very clear-cut path that breaks it down. Easy for you to tell. You can look at this and say, what stage am I currently at? And there is no wrong answer. There is no problem with where you're at. But if you can identify where you're at least you can set up a plan to know where you need to go from here. And it sets up goals, for measurable goals, to determine where you are. And what I mean by that is, if you are in survival mode right now and all you're thinking about is being a successful entrepreneur that gives to the world and creates world peace, I mean, seriously, bring it back a little bit and just get yourself to that next stage of stability first.
Also, it's really important to use these steps in relationships.
Yes. Great point. Like I said, every aspect of your life, you can do this. Yeah, for sure.
Well, people tend to go into a spiral during a breakup and after the breakup. And then they're like, well, I want to date again. And it's like, no, get stable first.
Exactly.
Get stable on all the levels you need to. And so just thought.
We should do one. We should write out some tips and tricks for relationships that follow this plan.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Don't want my advice on relationships.
All right.
Dump them, move on.
Okay, the next one. Know your family's history. Okay. What did you take away from this?
It made me think of a woman that I know who I gave access to my, I don't know, one of those things online that I bought a long time ago where it looks at I think it was ancestry.com.
Gotcha.
And so she started looking back into, right now she's on my father's side, digging into that. And that's kind of all I got into. No, I'm just kidding. But he does talk about it in the chapters earlier about like your traditions and things like that. So
yeah, I think it's important to kind of recognize what some of the history has been so that you don't necessarily repeat it. But that's pretty much all I got out of it, because I am so different from the rest of my family, and I'm glad, and I don't want to be like my family. That's the extent of it. And I don't really know my family history, so that one's a tough one for me.
I mean, my family history is kind of pretty interesting. I don't know a lot about my mother's parents, but my father's father, so my grandfather, was one of 8. And it was his parents, I believe, my great-great-grandparents, the dad, the male, the great-grandfather, he, I think, came over from Czech Republic. So I think, I don't know, and that's as far as I know at the moment. So nothing great. I don't think it's like anybody was in royalty or anything. They were straight up coal miners in Pennsylvania. So they were hard workers. They did call them the Great 8. And my grandfather lived to be like 92, I think, 93. Wow. So just, like, what do I do with that? My grandfather and I were tight there for a while. So, at one point, I think I found a Russian Bible in his house. That's interesting. Yeah. But, so I don't know. I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
Cool.
And so the other one, the next one, is know your own history.
Yeah,
so that's kind of interesting. Because it shows you where you came from. Like, what have you gone through? There's some things I look back on and I'm like, wow, I did that. I went through that. I did all that at the same time. So I was graduating from chiropractic school. I had a 6-month-old. I was taking not just all my finals for school, but I was starting to take my national boards. And I was buying a home and getting ready to move with a 6-month-old.
Wow, that's a lot.
It was so much. And granted, I was young. You don't want to do that older. But you look back and you're like, I did that all at the same time? Yeah, I got this. So I think if you can look back on some of the trials, the tribulations that has created who you are, whether they were, all learned behaviors, some of them good, some of them bad. It can help you give perception on where you are today.
That is so key. A question for you. Do you feel at times like I haven't changed? I'm the same person I always was. Do you ever feel like that, or have you ever felt like that?
All the time. Yeah. I can't believe I turned 50. Like, it's freaking me out, this body.
That is so normal, right? I go through it all the time. Like, I still feel, and that's why, because I'm so different, like physically in the last 5-6 years than I was before. And my brain still has my 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old version of me in its mind, that when I look in the mirror, there's a discrepancy. And actually I have to get through that, because that discrepancy is very disturbing at times. So there's a discrepancy between what I actually see and what I think, because I don't feel like I've changed yet. I have, and I'm talking physically changed. The point that I want to make, though, is we've all seen this as kids, as growing up. You have that grandmother or that grandfather that comes and they squeeze you on the cheek and they go, "Oh my goodness, you've grown so much." And you're like, "I haven't grown at all. Like, come on, I'm this, like," right? And as a parent, you don't even notice the changes in your children that much, because you see them all the time. So one of the things that I think is really important for knowing your own history and even keeping a journal is being able to go back to that. Because if we are looking for success and measuring and seeing whether or not we're reaching our goals, how cool would it be for us to be able to look at ourselves like our grandparents did, squeeze us on the cheek and say, "Oh my goodness, you've grown so much." The only way you're going to be able to do that is if you know your history. You know your own history. Where have you come from? What have you been through? And when you go back and look at that and review that and actually pay attention to it, that gives you that reward. That gives you that seed of, okay, you know what? I haven't reached my goal yet, but wow, look how far I've come. Huge.
Yep. Awesome.
Next one. Last one.
Pass it on.
High five. We're doing that. Episode over. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Hey, new book.
Our new book, yes. Our new book. Which book are we going to do? We're going to be doing a trading book, right? Do you remember what it's called?
We have decided to go back to a trading book.
That is
it correct. The Alexander Elder one?
It is. Alexander Elder. And what's the title?
Is it Trading for a Living? But
yeah, we're going to do the second version, the new Trading for a Living book. Yeah, absolutely. So we will join you guys all next week when we start our new book, and hope to see you there.
Thank you for joining us today. For more information about the show, as well as our list of current reads, check us out at www.theelevatedtrader.com.
Remember to subscribe and share if you found value in today's episode. See you next week.